sorry, I gotta pause this video. Oh my word, man. First funny people in the world. Funny. Hopefully this is working. Wasn't last night. But hopefully it'll work today. Let me type in this is a tip from my pal Brunswick, Mr. Brunswick. Guys, if you haven't checked out Mr. Brunswick, please go give him a look. He's good people. That way I don't have to keep begging for donations. Excuse me. No one will probably come in today, but I wanted to jump on here and I wanted to oh, excuse me, I'm still sick as hell. Hi, Halo. Halo Smythe is another great streamer here on the YouTube. Please go check her out. Halo is just a great gal. How are you today, Halo? Funny days and sleepless nights. I can't sleep with a crap anymore. I try. I get about, those sleep patterns where you get 1, maybe 2 hours of sleep, then you're awake for an hour, and then you get like an hour's worth of sleep. So it's just been cruddy. But there was some stuff I wanted to talk about today, if y'all wanted to hear me. What did I want to talk about? No, I can't remember. Oh, I've been watching these World Star Hip Hop things. They're just, oh my word, hilarious people in the world. And I get the whole sovereign citizen thing. I understand. But some of these people take it too far. When you get pulled over by the police, you're required to show identification. I know there's technicalities in the law where, unless you're being detained and rah, but you're driving a vehicle and you're driving it down the road. So you should, at the very least, show them that you have proof that you can drive that vehicle. I understand, well, I don't really understand, but I don't understand where we got to this point. Sorry, I got something in my eye. I don't understand where we got to this point in this country where it's like no one feels like they need to identify the fact that they're allowed to drive a vehicle. Or prove that they have insurance for said vehicle. Because say the vehicle you're driving in may be no fault of your own, but you get into a car accident and children are killed. Then it becomes an issue. And the reason that this part is true and dear to my heart is that my son's fiance, her 3.5-year-old daughter was killed in a car accident 4 years ago, I think it was, something like that. Might be less than that. Tragically killed in the car accident. The guy who was driving was an illegal immigrant from Mexico. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was legal. But he was originally from Mexico, which really has no bearing on the story. Sorry I even brought that up, but he was drunk driving. They were on their way back. my daughter's ex, or my daughter-in-law's ex, and his new girlfriend had taken my granddaughter. I consider my granddaughter because she was at my house from the time she was like a year old on. But they were on their way back from a fair, a carnival, having fun at the carnival. And there was a four-way stop. They had stopped, proceeded to go through, and it was on the highway, and this guy hit him from the side on my granddaughter's side at 75 miles an hour. I think they estimated he was going. Everyone in the vehicle was killed. My granddaughter, her father, his new girlfriend, all killed instantly. And the first thing they did, because no one in his vehicle, he was in a pickup truck, no one in his vehicle was hurt. No one. The first thing they all did was jump out and gather up all the beer cans that they had in the back of the truck. Which is kind of hardcore, but and then the first thing he started saying was he didn't have to provide any proof that he was driving the vehicle. He tried to blame it on the guy, one of the passengers, and saying that he was driving. And that passenger, when he got out of ICU and heard the stuff that this guy was spewing, he then testified against the guy who was actually driving. Salazar was his last name. But then he tried to claim that he was not really a citizen of the United States, so he shouldn't have to abide by the law, and just all this complete nonsense. 3 people died by his hands as he was drunk driving. So there was a trial. In my town, it was kind of a big deal. But ultimately, he appealed his guilty verdict, and then, or actually, I don't think he appealed the guilty verdict. I think he finally went into court and said he didn't want to put the families through this, because automatically it turned out that the guy owned multiple construction companies in Texas or somewhere, and he started putting all of his assets into other people in his family's name because he knew what was coming. So yeah, it was just a traumatic thing. And God bless my daughter-in-law. I call her my daughter-in-law, her and my son, but God bless her for fighting through, because this baby was her whole life. And people throw that around, well, my baby's my life, a lot, but literally she was her whole life. And that was her one source of down-to-earthness, sanity, whatever you want to call it. That was the thing that kept her going and on the right path. And she's a great gal. Just awesome. And she's a strong woman for fighting through this. But yeah, he finally got up in court and admitted that I don't want to put her through this. Speaking of my son's fiance, I don't want to put her through this anymore. I'll take my punishment or whatever. And they cut him a plea deal, 40 years. That automatically in my state, The prisons are so packed, as they are all over the United States. But I don't think the laws apply like they do in my state. But automatically, when you go to prison, they cut your sentence in half. Boom. So he got 40 years, cut in half immediately the minute he walked into intake. So he had 20. And my daughter-in-law goes to his parole hearings. He's already up for parole, so because he's the model prisoner, you know. So what I'm saying is, if a police officer pulls you over, say at a drunk driving checkpoint, or pulls you over for speeding or whatever, what makes people think that they don't have to show their ID? I understand social justice and all cops are bad. Not all cops are bad. I've said it before. I've had relatives in my family that were in law enforcement. He's passed away now, but not all cops are bad. I don't know statistics very well, but I would say probably 99% of police are truthful and honest. And that number may fluctuate for the big cities. You know, there's a lot of corruption and such, but we cannot assume that we don't have to provide insurance or proof of the ability to drive just because we're in this craziness, you know, after the election and in my opinion, Black Lives Matter movement, nothing but a hate movement. It's been proven. Vinko, how you doing? It's been proven that the Black Lives Matter movement is funded by, you know, people that want to create social unrest in this country. Do I think there's a lot of stuff wrong with this country? Hell yes, I do. Do I think by who we vote for as a president is going to fix these things? No, I've said it before. We got to vote Congress. Congress is where the laws are made in this country, guys. Black meter. Yeah, black lives do matter. You know what matters the most? All lives matter the most. Doesn't matter whether you're black, yellow, purple, aquamarine, all of it. We all matter. And that's why I think I may have said this in another stream, but it might have been in talking to my daughter. And like I said, I've got all different kinds of ethnicities in my family. I'm married to a Lebanese woman. My children are half Lebanese. My daughter's fiance is an African American. I don't even like that statement, African Americans. He's an American who is of color. So all lives matter to me. All of them, you know, and it's not only in this country, it's in all countries. You know, everybody should have an equal shot. And I know it doesn't always work out that way, you know. But there is a lot of racial profiling that goes on in this country. That goes on right in this town that I live in, you know. If you're driving on the road and you don't look right, and I'm wearing my hat backwards, or I'm wearing it a little off to the side, hey, I better pull that guy over. Or if I'm blasting a certain kind of music, better pull him over. Might be on the meth, might be on the coke, might be on the crack, might be selling all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I wanted to get at a little bit. It's just such. When did we all get to be such, excuse my language, pussies? You know, whether it's a man, woman, or whatever. You know, when did we all, immediately cry, you've crossed the bounds, police. No, think about this. And I know in a lot of other countries the police are pretty hardcore. But think about if there was no police in this world. It would be a free-for-all. Like I've said before, it would be like that movie The Purge. Except it wouldn't be one night out of the year. It'd be every day. You think you lock your doors now? You'd be barricaded in your house without the police. To keep some of these people at bay. And that's not to say that all criminals are bad people. Hell, I've known a lot of good criminals. I was one of them for a long time. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I was a good guy. Still the same person I am. But I was doing criminal activities to make my way. That's what people don't understand, is that we weren't all born into money. We all had to make our way. And I'm not making excuses, I was kicked out when I was 15 years old. I had to make my way the best way I could to make sure that there was a place for my kids to sleep and food on the table. A lot of the stuff I did was scrupulous, but I never harmed anyone doing it. But people just get to the point where they feel like if you've got, and this is another problem with the United States, if you've got a criminal record or a felony on your record, you're automatically disqualified from getting a decent job. Then you're relegated into working for minimum wage, which now I think is $7.25 across the board. Sure, there's certain districts and counties and such that may have increased it to $10. But even at $10 an hour, the cost of living has gone up. And I think I said this yesterday. The cost of living has gone up so dramatically, that I was thinking last year, hell, I'm making the same amount of money I was making when Bill Clinton was president. And that was good money back then. Now it's just barely scraping by. As the prices of everything go up, therefore the wages should rise as well. And I'm not saying that everybody should be privileged. I'm not saying that, guys. I'm not saying that at all. I think the American dream is what you make of it, or whatever dream you have from whatever country you're in, is what you make of it. What I'm saying is, as everything goes up in price, why do wages stay stagnant? Why is it the top echelon, the guys who own the company, are making all the money on the backs of all our labor? As I said, in any country, it's the same way. There's a certain elite for the movement to start, and I think it started after Ferguson, Missouri, whatever, Michael Jones or whatever his name was. The Black Lives thing kind of lost its meaning when people with money got involved and turned it into a hate thing. And like I said, all lives matter, man. Black, white, indifferent, aquamarine, fuchsia, whatever your color is. Everyone's life matters, man. We should all be given a fair shake. And I think sometimes the shake gets lost in the system. And I know there's a lot of, and I've said this before, there's stuff that I agree with that Trump's doing. I really do. But there's a lot of people that have gotten even more rich since he became president. Look at the tax cut that came around. Really didn't affect the big top people. Just really didn't affect them much. Because he's a big top guy, I think back to the interview that I saw with him, and he goes, "My dad gave me a small loan of $1 million." $1 million, and he's talking about back in the 70s. So $1 million back then is probably $5 million now. But that's a small loan. And he made his way after that. He stepped on a lot of people to get where he is. He cut out a lot of workers that did work on his buildings and refused to pay him. Look at the Trump University thing. I mean, he started a university which was a joke, and it was all a money scheme. I'm a diehard Democrat. I am. But the Clinton Foundation is a money-sucking hole. You know who gets rich off of that? The Clintons. That's why it's their foundation. But God, I'll have liberals screaming at me, or all these, Hillary needs to run. What are they going to do? They're going to prop her up again? Her health is failing so fast that they have to hide her when she gets out of the car. But like I said, those aren't the people that make the laws. Donald Trump can say whatever he wants, but he's not making the laws. The Congress in this country makes the laws. And people all over the world look to us. And this is why we've lost so much respect around the world. They look to us to be the ones who are even keel, responsible. And when we can't even keep our own finances in check, and we're trying to run around the world and tell everybody how to run their countries, hello? I don't know. I didn't really get negative. I'm just stating facts, guys. I'm not trying to be negative in these anymore. So I'm losing subs, like I said, blood on a cutting session. And I can't get anybody to donate. Donate to me at paypal.me/mind69. And if you're from a different country, you can still donate. It'll convert over to American dollars. But we have a big election coming around. Is it this year, I think? A lot of the congressmen are going to be voted for again. That's where we're going to make our biggest deals. That's where we're going to change this country. Because right now, all the Republicans are playing nice with Donald Trump, but in actuality, they're doing it on strictly he's a Republican. When did it be about when was there a line in this country, red and blue, Republican, Democrat? When did we lose sight of the fact that it's not about a guy that was born into wealth? It's about people like me, people like you all over the country that bust our butt every day to barely get by. We're the ones who should really say enough is enough. And the way we can do it is by voting these old hypocrite rich men out. especially in the Congress, man. There's no statute of limitations or term limitations in our Congress. Some of these guys are 90 years old, worth $100 million. And they're going to tell me, who makes barely $14 an hour, this is what's best for you? Really? Do you really care about me? Or do you care about you? The corruption in this country is crazy. The corruption all over the world is absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, there's countries out there that the only people that have a decent chance of getting a fresh meal is a politician. That's not right. That's not worrying about us, the people of the world, of the United States. That's worrying about number one, yourself. And if we're going to all be selfish, then it's going to turn into chaos. Because then I'm going to say, screw my neighbor, or screw Johnny Blow that I run into on the street. Screw him. I'm going to go home, I'm going to barricade myself in my house, and I'm going to stockpile my food. Then I'm going to be one of them guys on National Geographic. You know, I don't think they run the shows as much anymore, but the end of the world guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to get to that point, and I have a feeling it's going to get there before I die. That it's going to be, if the government is all about what's best for them as individuals, then I'm going to start doing what's best for me as an individual. Then, no matter if we have police or not, what's going to happen is people are just going to start to say F it and walk into banks and be crazy, walk into supermarkets, walk into schools. We've already seen it, you know, little snippets. But if we keep on this trend, people, I think that we're going to see a hell of a lot more of it. We're not only going to see it in this country, we're going to see it in France. We're going to see it, you know, in Russia. We're going to see it in Japan. We're going to see it in Somalia. We're going to see it everywhere. Israel, Middle Eastern countries, Arabia. We're going to see some real people that really don't care for authority, for any kind of law. They're just going to go crazy. And you know who they're going to blame it on? The U.S. The U.S. They're going to blame it on the United States for corrupting the Western civilization, corrupting the world. That isn't what I was raised on. I still believe I live in the best country in the world. But we need to get this shit together. We need to come together, not as, like I said, red and blue, Republican, Democrat. We need to come together and get our leaders to come together as caring for the United States. First, we cannot be the world's police. We can't. We can't do it. We've tried, and it's failed miserably. It seems like everywhere we stick our nose in, shit gets more fucked up than it was before. Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. The Taliban have taken Afghanistan back over. The Soviets were smart enough after 10 years to say, screw Afghanistan. This is not our fight. We need to get out of here. We're losing our own troops for a losing battle. And it's everywhere. Korea messed that up miserably. We divided a country. Vietnam messed that up horribly. Look at how many of our troops came back, including my father, and went absolutely crazy. From, at the time, they didn't know it was diagnosed, but post-traumatic stress disorder. When you're given the choice, okay, my father was a bomb engineer. He went in, he planned out how to blow up villages. And you're going in and you're blowing up women and children and old men or disabled whatever. You're blowing up villages. And you really don't know why you're doing it. To stop the threat of communism? Really? And you're fighting a war where they're jumping back and forth between borders. They're going through Cambodia. They're going through Laos. You know, every time the shit gets out, well, the U.S. can't follow over there. The fucking thing is thousands of miles away. That's shit that doesn't even matter. That's the war machine money there. There's money in war. So just remember, and I don't want to rant too hard, but especially when it comes to Vietnam, because I watched my dad go down and go down hard. He ended up dying of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which to me I probably was due to Agent Orange and all the chemicals they dropped on the jungle. And you know why we dropped the chemicals on the jungle and lit all the jungles on fire? Is because we couldn't see our enemy. So they just started digging tunnels. But they were fighting for their cause. That was their land. And we're thousands of miles away jumping in there. And God bless our veterans. And like I said, my father fought there, okay? But I didn't think that was a fight we need to be in. And I've done a lot of research on it. That was not our fight. That was LBJ's fight. Because he had all his money wrapped up in the war machine. John F. Kennedy was assassinated for the simple fact that he was going to pull us out of there. Richard Nixon, as nutbag as he was, and as big of a, I won't call him a liar, but, you know, a shady dude that he was, realized in 1975, when I could remember, I think it was 75, 74, somewhere in that range, this was a losing battle and we need to get the hell out. And he pulled all our guys home. But like I said, it's too late by then. Hundreds of thousands of American lives were lost in a war that we were never going to win. Never. Never. It was not our war to fight. You know, there's a lot of trouble going on in Iraq now. We decimated that country. But it's still the same fight that they had when Saddam Hussein was in power. Shiites. I don't know all the particulars on the Shiites, the Muslims, whatever. They're all the Kurds. They're all still fighting. Still fighting. Because now they're thrown into a civil war where they really have no leadership. Sure, Saddam was nasty, man. He killed a lot of people. But I'll tell you this. That country was in check when he was in power. Now what do you got? Got the U.S. sitting around going, do. We're pulling out troops. And the turmoil's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we dump money into Iran. Huh? These are people that fund terrorism. And like I said, I can't get too far into it, but it's just because I want to try and stay positive. But it's like we just lost our way, and what are we? Yeah, we're the most powerful nation in the world. We don't need to have a dick contest with everybody. We just don't. Joe Blow wants to starve his freaking country out in North Korea. Whatever that guy's name is. Well, you want to starve your country out, man? That's on you, because eventually you'll have nobody left. Yeah, it's a humanitarian thing. We've imposed all the sanctions we can impose on this dude, and he's still doing the same shit. During the Iraq War, we shut down their oil, and they weren't. Bullshit. There's a thing called the black market, people. Trust me, I know this. Whatever you want, you can get. Whatever you want to sell, you can sell. Whether it's on frickin' on the streets like I used to run it, or on the global stage. Libya, same way. You know why we went in and we took out Muammar Gaddafi? Not because we buy our oil from Libya. I think it's like 85% of the oil the United States consumes we get from South America. So why were we in Kuwait? Why were we in Iraq? Why were we in Libya? Why were we in all these oil producing? Why do we protect Saudi Arabia? Because our allies get their oil there. France, #1 consumer of Libyan oil. Our friends in France. The same people that said we couldn't fly our jets over them when we were in war. If it wasn't, and I'm gonna go off on a rant on this, but if it wasn't for the United States, the French would all be speaking German right now. Period. So, when you look at this stuff, guys, you got to look at it from a whole perspective, and that's what I said when everybody was worried that North Korea was going to bomb the United States. They don't even have to bomb the United States. They could just launch a missile over into Japan, which they have full capability of doing. Or launch one into France, or launch one at any of our allies. And we're automatically drugged into a war that really has no bearing on us. It is a nutbag dictator, guys. And eventually nutbag dictators, they play themselves out. Who was it? The guy from Cambodia killed millions of Cambodians. We didn't get involved, but he played himself out. Eventually, their own people will take care of their own problems. You did not see anyone in the world, no one, came and jumped in when we had our civil war. No one. Not a single country. I think it was in Nigeria. Was it Nigeria? Nigeria or Liberia, one of those two. When they had that crazy dictator over there. It played itself out. The rebels came. They took back power. They took control of their country. We can't fix it all, guys. I can't even balance my budget. My own budget. Let alone trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do in the rest of the world. So, and which leads me back to what I originally started with, these people that get pulled over by the police and they refuse to give their license. And they start with the whole, are you detaining me? Are you detaining me? Okay, first of all, if you have contact with the police and it's not just a friendly conversation, they're fucking detaining you. They had probable cause, and you can, and I admit, you can take that to court on whether they had probable cause to have contact with you. But if a cop says to you, I need your ID, or you're in some other country and they want your papers, whatever they call it everywhere else, I don't know. I only know America. They are authority. They're the ones who make sure your children get to school and get home and have a safe place to sleep at night. And you don't have people kicking down your doors looking for a can of food. You see what I'm saying? Don't be so quick to judge cops. And I'm not a cop lover. I hate fucking cops. I was a criminal for fucking 30 years of my life. I'm 48 now. 30 years of my life was nothing. Probably even more than that. Probably from the time I was 10 years old on. Nothing but breaking laws. Going to jail, in and out of jail, this, that, and the prison, you name it. So I'm not a cop lover. But these motherfuckers are making sure you're safe. Excuse my language, and now I'll get a not monetized because I said mother effer. But not that monetization means anything to me. No one watches. But people, you need to realize if they're hassling you and they feel like that they're hassling you, or you feel like you were wrongly accused of something, there's avenues you can take. Don't whip out your cell phone and start recording a police officer who's standing outside of your car saying, I need to see your ID. And then when they say, you are detained, and if you do not produce an ID, I will pull you out of your vehicle and we'll take it that route. And then when they do that, you bring a lawsuit. Dude, they don't know what you are. They're just trying to get home to their own family. If you were doing whatever it was you were doing to make them look at you like that, you wouldn't be yanked out of your car. Period. Just think about it. Not all police are bad. But there's some bad, there is some horrible. There is no other country in the world that everybody else is trying to get into but America. Remember that. It's not a right to be an American citizen. You gotta bust your ass, man, to keep it together. I know this more than anyone. You've got to do right to have right done to you. And we've got to take care of ourselves before we worry about the rest of the world. Because, like I said, nobody came rushing to help us when we were in our Civil War. No one. That was North and South all the way. So the minute there's turmoil in Syria, Lebanon, this, that, and the other thing, hey, man, I've said this since Bill Clinton was president. We need to back off. Let these people sort out their own problems, man. We can't figure it all out. Y'all got to figure it out yourselves. We did. And that's being kind of hardcore. And that's not to say if there's atrocities against humanity, we shouldn't go in. Or at least, drop a few bombs. I remember when Ronald Reagan was president and Muammar Gaddafi in Libya was drawing lines in the sand and stuff. Well, Ronald Reagan was the John Wayne of all of our presidents, if you ask me. He just said, fuck it. And went and bombed his house. I mean, straight up bombed his house. Didn't bomb anything else in the country, just Muammar Gaddafi's house. So, you know, which to me is going to a different extreme. But what I'm saying is, we have children in this country, and there's children all over the world, but in this country alone, we have children that go to bed hungry every night. We have people dying in our streets from homelessness. We have children in this country that when the school year is over, they don't eat because there's no food. But what's the first thing everybody cuts? And I don't believe welfare is an end-all and solve-all for poverty. I don't believe that at all. What I believe is we should go with the policy that, I know it was Bill Clinton who introduced it. You get 5 years. 5 years. And in them 5 years, you can get your education, you can get everything. We'll take care of you. But that is ample enough time for you to get yourself back on your feet. And if not, you have serious mental issues or other issues. But there's generations of family that do nothing but live on welfare. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, there's good. I know one of my daughter's old friends. Her welfare was going to run out. She just have another kid. She made more money and probably still makes more money than I do working a full-time fucking job. That's not right. If you're going to have kids like that, then something needs to be done. Somebody needs to scratch their head and go, wait a minute. Your mother was on welfare. Your grandmother was on welfare. You got 7 kids. Your mother had 12 kids. Your grandma had 14 kids. White, black, or indifferent. That happens all over the United States. All lives matter, but we need to get ourselves in check. We need to stop fighting each other and fight against the system. Whether it's in the United States or anywhere that you are in the world, we need to fight against the system. And the system is the fat cats that are sitting in Washington. It's not your neighbor that you had a disagreement about mowing his grass with. That is not your enemy. Or it's not a black guy that you had an argument with when he cut you off in traffic. He's not your enemy. You're not his enemy. We're frustrated, people. We're frustrated with how the rich keep getting richer and the poor just stay poor. You know. At least I am. But I just wanted to jump on here and I wanted to kind of let that out about that whole social justice warrior sovereign citizen BS. It's so dumb, you know. It's just so stupid. Hey, if you'd like to donate to paypal.me/69, you're more than welcome. No one's gonna donate. That's funny. But I'm going to do another one of these later, and I'm going to be more positive. But I thought this was pretty positive. I mean, I was just stating facts, guys. Just getting some stuff off my chest. Like I said, not that anyone cares, but it makes me feel better when I do it. I appreciate anybody and everybody that came in. Vinko, I appreciate you. Halo Smythe, I appreciate you. Those were the 2 people I saw in the chat. Anybody else that was watching, I appreciate you too. And if you watch later, I appreciate you. Thanks, man. We're going to try and get that PS4 going. Trying. Peace.